Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I am your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 125. Please be sure to follow, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us some 5-star reviews. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Down in the comments, let me know. Pretty simple. Who you got winning the Masters this year? Do you think Scotty's going to run away with it, or you got someone else that you think can actually challenge him? But obviously, as I said, we are in Masters Week. It's good to have a major here because it's been a pretty rocky start to 2024 from a PGA standpoint. Nice to have all these guys together. Of course, I'm a little bit under the weather, so if there's a couple sniffles or coughs here and there, I apologize. But to chop it up, I have joining me, you can see him every week on the Pat Mayo Experience, breaking down the betting board. Also, he is over at Odds Checker and the Hammer HQ, Geoff Fienberg. Geoff, how we doing?
I'm doing well, Derek. And you're right, Masters Week feels more important now than ever with the boys playing together. So it's only Monday. It's going to be a slow crawl till Thursday, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we could start there. I mean, what are your feelings on the state of golf up to this point in 2024? I mean, you know, for me, I haven't really hit too many winners. Luckily, had Bhatia this past week, so probably a little bit more in my disgust with the PGA Tour. But overall, it just has not been great.
Yeah, I mean, taking the betting out of it like entirely, and even with the betting, I mean, like if you're betting, it's very narrow-minded. You want to have guys in contention. You want to win bets, but from a strict golf fan, and that can waver like week to week. You know, you feel good when your bets are doing well, but just trying to take myself out of that and just be the golf fan. Like I'm very pessimistic. I have very little optimism, like you. I mean, yeah, like people could say are just buying into like talking points, and it's just sort of like group chatter. But no, feels a lot different. Even when I started like doing this golf stuff with Pat, I wasn't a young guy. I was north of 30. Like, so even like getting older and being more jaded, like I was older when I started this, and I loved it. And it just feels different. So whatever people are feeling, I'm feeling it as well. And I don't think there's a short-term fix coming. I think we're a lot farther away from reunification. And I'll be honest, I'm not like at the same time, I feel like I don't even like I want them to reunify, but I don't think guys should be able to like come back squat free either. So I have no idea what anything looks like, except I'm very pessimistic. I'm very pessimistic of anything good coming outside of the majors in any short term anything.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the more frustrating things about it too, is it doesn't look like they're even working on a fix or making it better going forward. You know, the PGA has basically just changed their product to suit live, to say to the golfers, please don't go take the money. Here's a little bit of extra money, but it's nothing that any of the fans of golf want. We don't want no cut events. We don't want smaller fields. We don't want any of that. So it's like they're just trying to stop the bleeding short term, but it doesn't look like there's any plans whatsoever to fix this long term.
And it hasn't helped that the stars haven't been stars. I mean, Scotty's gone on a nice little run, and we, as golf fans, like once in a while, we like the Malnati, the Dunlop, like losing bets, whatever. You know, we can handle that. That's par for the course over the year. But when it's like an extended run of that stuff, Pavone, Jake Knapp, like we just run off what's gone on this year. Even the bets hit the last couple weeks, Ashke and with the field last week, and even Jaeger, like people, the stars not playing like stars, and then maybe that sort of will be something as you look at who you want to bet for the Masters. That's a big part of it, is the stars have not been stars this year, and that's been a big problem, I think, for the PGA Tour. Needless to say, I don't know that if like a couple of these guys that we like or that are popular contended would have changed ratings, but it's not good when Liv's taken so many players, and the best players on the PGA Tour really haven't been as good as advertised this year.
Yeah. So yeah, from that standpoint, it just basically magnifies it even more. It's just
Yeah.
more ammo for anyone complaining about it to complain. It's like, look, you lost a lot of talent to live, and now the talent that you did retain doesn't look all that talented recently. So, but obviously, we're here for the Masters. We can quickly recap Valero just because it was awesome. It's nice to get a community win there with Akshay. Actually, was the first outright of the year that I got, so definitely nice to get that going into the first major of the year. But what were your thoughts? Because that tournament at the end, although there wasn't a ton of star power there, that was pretty interesting. Regardless of whether you were sweating the Akshay bet or not, that was an incredible conclusion to that tournament.
What a ridiculous final 90 minutes. In full disclosure, Derek, I thought I was being this proactive good dad. Like, it's a blowout on the PGA Tour. It's the Masters next week. Just go out with the kids. It's starting. The weather was nice where I am. Like, going to the park. We're playing outside. I'm getting ready to totally neglect my family in a week. Akshay's got the lead, and you're like, this is cool. Let's go. We're having fun in the sun. And then I'm just trying to enjoy park time, and I'm just tilting. And then when it got to 2 strokes, I had to go back in. I didn't have a sorry, guys. I meant to. I try my hardest, but this Denny's hitting everything, and Daddy's got to go inside now. And then what a truly captivating, all of it in totality, from the water ball to then Buddy needing, his shoulder rubbed out, which is just incredible. To make Denny sit there, there's a lot of guys on tour would have probably been cursing out, just let me go home, man. I just put it in the water. What are you doing to me here? So on so many, there's so many layers of how crazy it was. And truly, outside of the majors, Derek, when you're asked to recall the year, and to guys like me and you who are we're doing this week in, week out, it's all a blur. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Weeks sort of pile up. You can pinpoint the majors. They're easy to stand out because they're tent poles. Every event's a blur. You ask me, how did something happen? This is one, truly, you'll be able to recall this one. There's no way outside of the majors there'll be something you'll be able to recall more than what we just watched yesterday. I mean that.
Yeah, it was wild. And just, what's crazy too is the fact that after Denny went in the water that he took that time. His drive was absolutely fine. He looked like he was not hurting at all and no pain. And then the second shot, he looked okay. I think he could have taken that shot, but he was just nah, I need some tape. I need a little rub down real quick.
And you saw them bring up and you're okay, maybe this is proactive because the broadcast brought it up. Okay, he's starting to feel something. It's sore, but this trainer is here. If we've got to go a second hole, a third hole, that's when it could really maybe become an issue. For him to make that guy trot out there after Buddy goes in the water, honestly, that was even Spieth in his crazy antics.
That was insane.
That was above anything we've seen. But hey, what a kid, an incredible little start to the career. He's only 22. He's a baby. It's a baby.
Yeah, and his poise was just, I think that was the most impressive. Obviously, his game was on point, but just, Friday came out and just didn't have it, was all over off the tee, bounced back very nicely. And then on Sunday, I think it was 10, he bogeyed, instantly came back with that birdie. Denny was doing what he was doing, and a lot of people would just say, well, I guess it's not my day. And he just kept trucking along and pulled it out. I mean, that putt on 18 was incredible.
And then, you're right, the composure, because guys would have just been this momentum is coming against me. But truth of the matter is, yes, there were a couple putts he could have hit, but the guy started the back nine with the 6-stroke lead and then played it 2 under and had to make a putt. On what planet? It's not like he was giving it away. It's not like there was a double in there.
Yeah.
It just truly seems I don't even know. I'll kind of left speechless other than to say, like I said, I'll truly remember that one when the season recaps and everything's a blur. That one is going to stand out like it's been highlighted.
Yeah, absolutely. And luckily I have awesome friends because I was at a 7-year-old's birthday party and My friends are cool, so they just got the bouncy house. Kids are outside in the bouncy house, and we're sitting watching the Valero. So shout out to my friends.
Yeah, listen, you got power, and there's enough adults there for a few of you to
Yep.
dip away, watch some golf. That's it's sort of like the power in numbers, sort of, helps you out. But yeah, good, yeah, good times, better, and also good friends planning the party on the Valero, not Masters Sunday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, but obviously we are here for the Masters, first major of the year. So quickly we can go through the course. I mean, obviously most people know it. It is Augusta National, 7,500 yard par 72, very fast, undulating bent grass greens. Distance definitely matters a little bit here, but strategy, it goes a long way. So experience is definitely what you want. Knowing where to hit approach shots and tee shots is half the battle. I mean, you could be better off in the rough in some spots than in the fairway on some holes. So knowing that definitely goes a long way. And then also with these tiers on these greens, if you're not in the right spot, you are probably three putting. So you knowledge definitely want guys that are good on approach. It is more of a second shot course, but definitely want a little bit off the tee as well. A little around the green comes into play with these stiff greens and how sloped they are. So really it's just a test of the entire game. But what are you looking for in golfers this week, Geoff?
I mean, just guys that aren't playing horrible, and there's so few of them at a high level who truly, I think, can check that box. But it's like you could rinse and repeat it. It's a second shot golf course and 3-putt avoidance, and you better have the stones to get up and down over the weekend. It seems like they've made it a bit more advantageous to longer hitters who truly want to be aggressive and take on some danger spots and will be rewarded for it. But it's really just avoiding the bogey, the like law. It's pretty much avoiding distance par putts. So if you're just hitting it to 25 feet all week and you can make a couple and steal from the par fives, you should be fine. Weather could be a factor a bit here, though, Derek. A colder, windier Masters might like lead you to want to bet a different player. If the forecast looks beautiful, I don't think we're seeing Shane Lowry getting touted in the way I've seen some of my friends wanting to bet Shane Lowry this week, just for argument's sake. But yeah, I'm here for flushers. I'll live and die with putt luck, Derek. So I'm here for guys that just flush it to the green.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of guys that really can't putt well on these greens. I mean, it's just when they're this fast and there's this much break and undulation in them, sometimes it evens out the field a little bit from a putting standpoint. So, and you touched on it too. With the distance, I think where it really comes into play is on those par fives, because you are going to have to score a little bit, and it's probably going to come on those par fives. So if you have a little bit of distance and you can maybe go for the green and two while some of these other guys are having to lay back, especially if we're in colder, softer conditions, I definitely think that goes a long way as well. But we can jump into the odds here. We're using DraftKings Sportsbook, and obviously it starts at the top. Scotty Scheffler plus 450. It is absolutely ridiculous of a number. Obviously, I would not bet it, but I could see some casual golf fans coming in here and just if they're making one bet, they're betting Scotty Scheffler. So I get it, but what do you think? Do you think he comes out here and runs train? Or
I'm definitely afraid of it. I might do a little more matchup stuff, placement stuff this week. I'll be honest. I think they are going to see tons of public Scheffler money. And I've made this analogy a couple times in the last couple of weeks, Derek. I'm not a college basketball guy. I don't know anything. I'm from Canada. I love college sports. I love college ball, but getting inundated, I don't have a clue. Did I watch a game all year? No. Tournament started. A couple people I trust. Like, this UConn team's the best ever. Like, they're the best. They're the best thing I've ever seen. I don't bet college basketball, so I saw 4-1. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Sounds weird, but I'll do it. I kind of feel like people will do the same thing with Scotty Scheffler. Now, I'm a golf guy who's got to be next week at the Heritage. I'm not, and the week after that at some shitty event, I'm sure. I'm not here to bet a guy 4-1. I'll just die on the sword of clapping my hands for him after. But I could see why people who just can't, why in the same way I bet UConn, and it didn't take a ton to convince me to do it, Derek. I feel like it's that exact recipe as to why lots of people will bet Scotty Scheffler, and will probably be sleeping on Saturday night the same way I am looking forward to this basketball game, coming to its conclusion this week. So yeah, I think even at 450, in the same way UConn, there's a lot of UConn fun out there plus 400. I think it's kind of the exact same shtick. I mean that.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't follow college basketball too closely, usually a lot closer than I did this year, but I did the same thing. I literally, I think it was DraftKings had a boost. I got him up to 650, and that was it. That was that was what I took. And it's like you said, a lot of these people probably did the same thing, didn't even watch a single game at the tournament. And tonight they're like, okay, I'm ready to collect my money. So it's the same thing with Scott.
And I bet on the flip side of that, there's a lot of college basketball hardos who are out there picking their 20, 30 to like tournaments wide open. Like teams are going to knock off. It's going to be crazy. Just like us, as we'll discuss the guys down the board in a minute here. No, you can do a 5-minute show. Tell everyone how great Scheffler is.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. So it's hard for golf guy to get behind it. Although I do have some friends who like to do this golf betting thing who parlayed UConn with Scheffler. Still doesn't feel like it pays enough for where it was a month ago, but tonight, now it feels nice, assuming UConn can finish their job there. But yeah, it's just a lot of words to say. I still think the books will have a significant amount of Scheffler liability, even at this crazy number. That golf guy like you, like I, probably just can't even stomach. We'd rather bet our guys. Betting our guys is like part of the fun than just like, saying uncle and going with Scheffler.
Yeah. All right. Now, obviously we have Rory here. We have Rahm. Do you think Rory has any chance at a green jacket? I mean, he's playing well, but backdooring a lot of these tournaments. Do we just see another just 7th place finish from him where he was never really in contention? Or do you think he can actually get this done?
He can get it done. I believe he can get it done, but he's not going to have my money. There's just too much going on there. Like I would there's just too much going on there. He's got to overcome what feels like more than every other high-end player in the field for all the reasons, right? He's carrying the baggage of it. When he wins, I might even cry. Like I'd be so happy for him, but it's unbettable for me. Rahm, I saw him get tipped. I didn't know what to make of it. You want to trust them. Defending champs have never really had success. At the same time, he hasn't even won on Live this year. I feel like Brooks won twice last year on Live before his I know there were Live questions last year that Brooks in so many ways answered, as did other great Live performances at the Masters a year ago. Just like is Rahm. I'm fascinated to see if Rahm can flip it, because I almost want to see him do it, even though I'm not betting on it. I'm intrigued to see if he can channel a bit of Brooks and go straight from Live to the top of a Masters leaderboard. I know Phil finished second, but that was like, bro, how that was totally not take any credit away, because a lot of us left him for dead, bet him to miss the cut last year. He was fantastic, but yeah, I'm fascinated by Rahm. There's just a couple things I'm afraid of, but he's so dominant at Augusta, and in some ways I feel like being overlooked.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, you said it. He's played so well here. Outside of the win, he even has great performances here. It does worry me a little bit. Just anytime you've heard him talk recently, it's the most recent Live should make it 72 holes, and it just seems like there's a lot of complaining. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's regretting the decision to go over there. So if he's got that weighing on him, maybe he feels a little more pressure coming into this as the defending champ. Obviously, that has its own issues there. So I am a little bit worried about Rahm. And at 11-1, I just, even in the best of years, I don't know if I could get there. Obviously, he's Jon Rahm. He's played incredible here, but just with all those questions, I don't really see it this year. Now, 2 guys that I did actually bet that I love are the next 2 on the board here. Xander, who's at 16, and Koepka at 20. Yeah. On Saturday, I was just looking at the board, and I generally don't like making futures on majors, just because, I mean, there's times where I'll make a bet on Monday morning when the odds come out, and by Wednesday, I'm like, shit, should I cash that out? So just holding my money for so long. I don't usually. So Saturday I was looking at the odds and I was like, there's no way Xander stays at 20. So I took the 20. I get it. I think part of the reason why I'm willing to do it is because I never back Xander whatsoever. So I haven't really felt that pain, but he's been incredible this year. There's only 2 of his 8 tournaments that he didn't come top 10 so far this year. So he's playing incredible. And obviously he's been playing well at the Masters. He had that when Decky won where he just triple bogeyed 16, but he was right there. I mean, I could see him turning it around. There's a lot of times where you're knocking on the door, and then all of a sudden it only takes one to kick it down. So I do like Xander, and I really like it at that number. And then I also took Brooks, got a boost on him up to 27 to 1. So absolutely love that. Now, and he was sitting at -3 off after the opening round at Live Miami. And I was like, oh, that number is getting crushed. So obviously Miami didn't turn out very well for him, but I don't know what the issue was there. After a good start, just basically, I think he was almost +8 on the weekend. So that's a little concerning, but maybe it was just he started losing it and he goes, the Masters is next week. Why do I care? So that's what I'm going to tell myself at least. But what are your thoughts on those two guys?
So I've got, Brooks Koepka. If I didn't come in with like a lot of futures and really just going to make a couple bets above 50 to 1 to complement those futures, any of my casual friends, like, yeah, there's the Scotty thing, but it's almost like how do you not bet Brooks Koepka? And there are people like I have a Xander future. It's in the mid-20s. I bet it literally. I had him to win the Players, Derek. And I bet it like I thought he was just going to win and we don't have to get over that hump and we're going to have this. And the funny thing is the number's the same whether he won the Players or not. Like if Xander wins the Players, I don't think he's 12 or 14 to 1 now. So I have it like you with a 2 in front of it. I'm happy about it. I've got more Xander scar tissue than you. I even joked with a tweet today. Josh Allen was quoted as saying like, I know what I'm getting into when asked like, is he afraid of CTE? Like when you bet Xander Schauffele, I know what I'm getting into, folks. Like I know what I've signed up for here. But I'm about Xander. I don't buy into that like loser narrative. I'm an apologist for a lot of like losers on tour, I guess. But I don't just buy into it. He's still too young. I've been a fan of so many sports where like guys that could never win, like win, and then everything changes. Like it'd be crazy if we just ran back the last 15 years of all-time greats that were called like losers after 5 years. You're like Peyton Manning, Alex Ovechkin. Yep. Like there's just true all-time, like, so I don't get into that. Like Xander, all-time great status, no. But I'm with you. Brooks, I'll say this. To be looking at the board now without a bet, to bet Xander over Brooks probably takes a lot of freaking balls. Now you could bet both, like you, and that's fine. But to bet the guy who like never wins and not bet the guy who always wins, bro, like it would take my fat thumb like an extra moment to click submit on the website. But I would rather bet Xander than Brooks. Maybe it's a likability thing. That's another problem with me, Derek. When it comes to the Masters, there's like a likability factor that comes into my betting process that doesn't like really when we're talking about the Valero Texas Open. I want to like the guy with like I want the guy to win the thing. You know what I mean? Like as a fan of the sport. So yeah, but I'm definitely afraid of Brooks. I think all casuals and hardcores should probably have a ticket. I don't.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Obviously I don't like Xander. Honestly, I actively usually root against him, but I think with his form and just how well he's played here, it was definitely worth taking the risk. And then a couple guys further down my board are definitely just guys that I would absolutely love to see put on the green jacket. So you definitely got to have some rooting interest there. It's not just about the money or the number. Yeah, but if we go further down, no, sorry, go ahead.
No, let's go further down. I was just going to agree with you.
So if I wasn't going to bet Xander, The other guy I was considering is Hideki. Just the form he is in, obviously already won a green jacket. It seems like it's a very strong possibility that he comes out and wins another one. I ended up taking a top 20 on him instead. So at least I have a little bit of exposure there, but I could definitely see Hideki winning one here. And obviously Spieth is Spieth at the Masters. So Neiman is interesting as well, just with how well he's been playing this year on Live. But does it translate? You know, he's played all right at Augusta, but not really. Really hasn't played great in majors overall. So, just what are your thoughts on those guys?
So I do love Hideki. I wish I had one of the bigger futures. I don't. If I was starting cold, it would be like between Xander and Hideki. Like those would be the above Scheffler, really good players that I want to trust. And truth be told, like just talking about the PGA Tour or just like let's bring in Liv, other than like the omnipresent Brooks faith and trust, who could actually beat Scotty Scheffler as someone that's watched a lot of golf? Like it feels like it's Xander or Hideki, especially if you buy into the debutant thing, which would then eliminate like a player like Wyndham or even Aberg, because like truly who after Scott, like who've been the 5 best players on the PGA Tour this year? Scheffler, Xander, Hideki, Wyndham, and probably Aberg. Like I'm could be forgetting someone. Sorry.
I think Thigala's had a pretty good year, but I think your list is right there.
Okay, no. And I was going to say, let's almost unfairly limit that list to like players who we knew were like top 15 players before the year. Because yes, they're guys who are over. I love we could talk about the guy in a bit. I've kind of bought a lot of what's being sold there. Neiman, I bet him before he was even in this tournament. I don't think I would come close to touching this number. There's a full handful of players I'd probably bet before I'd bet Neiman at 25 or 28.
I agree.
To 1, but I've got some big Neiman numbers, so I'm excited about them. I'm hoping for the best. Historically, I've always bet him at PGA Championships and US Opens. To the lackluster major resume you referenced, the Masters was never really a place that I thought would be the place for him to have that major breakthrough, but I kind of just I was so confident they were gonna put him in, and I took a big number even before maybe like I don't know, just into the new year. So I do like Neiman. Spieth. How do you put this, man? Like how do you put this? You could see it, but I'd rather go down the well with a guy that like never wins, like Xander. This is another one. Like part of me picking players I like. I also just like seeing the love being spread around. Spieth's got a green jacket. Like I'll be cheering for almost anyone but him. It's not like a knock on Jordan. I'm not a Jordan hater, but if it's like anyone who I don't hate who doesn't have a major, I'd just rather see win more than Spieth. But you could argue golf needs Spieth more than ever right now because people actually love him in a way that doesn't seem like anyone else outside of Tiger is truly loved. You could probably include Rory in that, but so yeah, my thoughts on those guys. Hideki though be the clear 1A.
I agree. And then the next 3 on the board, they're kind of your guys. I mean, I actually think Aberg can play well here. We've seen debutants play pretty good over the past couple years, so I think it's a course that could definitely fit him. I don't think the moment will be too big for him, so I like him. Finau tends to play well here, so I think he's fine. And Hovland has just looked broken. But what are your thoughts on them?
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll just throw Wyndham into this as well because
it
just feels appropriate. I think both Aberg and Wyndham are going to play great. I look at that debutante market, and when someone finally posts a number with all the fun names, Akshay getting added to it, like what a who's who of players, a fun list. So I'm like that'll be almost like one of the more fun side markets to look at. We've seen these debutantes, like we've seen them come play better and better. So I feel like it's only a matter of time before one is truly in the mix. I know we had the Willie and Sungjae in the Fall Masters a couple years ago, but they're on the precipice of it. I think Aberg's going to play great this week. Hovland just scared. I mean, Finau, we'll get to the goods. It's all kind of lining up like the stats are showing, his number dropped pretty hard today. It was 50 when I woke up, and I saw Ben Cooley at the Sporting Life tipped him and kind of tumbled into the mid 30s.
35 on DK.
Yeah, but he's flashing that great ball striking, and this is a place where he has putted decently. He would be on my very short list of players who I'm probably not going to bet, but I would be so happy to see win the Masters. Like, so happy. And Hovland, I bragged about nice futures, Derek. This is the one that, like, to your point, like a sitting on them. This one, I've literally probably been sitting on for like 10 months, and the number went the other way. The Masters was at Christmas after the Ryder Cup or something. He was like 12-1. It was like golden. Now a 25-26-1 is bad because there's 30s, mid 30s. Maybe it hits 40. Last year, people were talking shit about him, though, and it was 40-1. They're like, he can never do it. He could never do it. It'll never work for him. I bet him last year at 40. I will re-up on my future in the mid-20s if they actually have the guts to put him to 40. The game is lost. And I could say this about Morikawa, about like so many great players. You will not find your game to win a green jacket at Augusta. But like,
yeah,
I could talk myself into it. I could talk myself out of it. Maybe this is just his happy place, but you do not fix problems. Don't get fixed at Augusta National. If anything, they just get exacerbated. I think I used that word properly. All right. So like when I look at Hovland, when I look at Morikawa, can they fix? The problem is, I'm going to say this as someone who actually thinks Hovland's going to play okay this week. Scary thing about Victor, it's not just like one thing in the stat sheet right now. It's like 3. He would have to fix like 2 or 3 parts of his game. That's the thing. Ugh. It's hard to vouch for it. I've been sitting on that bet so long. What a roller coaster of odds. I mean, what?
Yeah, the big thing is the around the green. I mean, it's just regressed again,
but even when he lost horrible. Even when he was horrible around the green, he was good here for some weird reason.
Yeah. Yep.
So I know this thing about outing outright golf. It's like you can cling to the things you like want to cling to. You can make any narrative work. This is a hard one though, man. It's so crazy how bad he's gotten for this number to straight balloon from where we were at Ryder Cup week and at the end of last season. So fingers crossed. I'm still thinking he's going to be okay though, but that's a bias, a hard one. I'm telling you.
The around the green game is one thing. We saw it improve towards the end of last year, and just obviously it's regressed. Maybe that's firing his coach. Maybe it's not, but the irons, I think, were the big concern, especially early in the year. We lost 2.2 strokes at the Century, 3.2 at Pebble, but he has gained, although it hasn't been significant. He's gained on approach in his last 3. So I guess that would probably be the case that you would make for him.
When you bet Victor Hovland, you are betting him to go lights out. Like, yes, you will need a weekend clutch up and down, like you would need from anyone to win the Masters if they're not running away from it. You will need that. You will need to, okay, this is the moment of stones, balls. But besides that, which I'm not discounting, you don't bet Victor Hovland because of the up and downs. You bet him because you think he's going to go black out an approach, and he's going to need to scramble so much fewer than anyone else in the field. So yeah, that's the sell job on it. It's hard though, but there's a lot of really great players whose games they don't have, and as we, I guess, continue to go up this ladder, we're gonna run into them.
Now, what do you think about Wyndham? Do you think he can actually win this thing? I mean, I definitely think he could play well. I think Augusta should fit his game. He's obviously, outside of Scotty, been pretty much the second best golfer on the PGA Tour this year. So I go back and forth because the other thing, we obviously saw he had the back injury a couple weeks ago. So was that actually a bigger thing than we thought? So there's just a couple things that have me questioning him, but in a perfect world, I could definitely see him playing well here.
Yeah, the game should play the way he can like stripe it tee to green. You'd think he should play, and the same way Ludwig. Like it's just can be a tee to green dominance that. Yeah, I get he's never been here before. Maybe that's ignoring some of the intricacies that this place asks of you. But when you are as dominant off the tee and with the approach as those two guys are, yeah, I fully expect him to get around just fine.
And then we don't have to go through all these guys here. Obviously, this is a big range. We got Cantlay, Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas, some of the live guys with Bryson and Dustin. None of those guys really interest me too much. Thomas has been up and down all year. Fitzpatrick looks like he's kind of coming more into form recently.
Yeah, he's onto something.
And it could be, if he has the driver figured out, it could be a good course for him. I'll probably more so lean towards him in DraftKings. But I do like Zalatoris here. I took an outright on him. Didn't get as good of a number as I wanted. It just kind of dragged my feet a little bit. But I got him at 33-1 with a top 7 each way. So just his ability with the long irons, similar to what we said with Hovland, I think if he's sticking every green here, and actually he's another guy that's putted well, he's very good with the lag putts, can avoid 3 putts, he's good on par 5s. So I like Zalatoris, and we've seen him finish well here 2 times already. So I like him, and I like that each way.
Simpatico on that one. He's a bet for me this week. He's been as good as anybody on this course the last couple years, even when yes, there's been improvements with the putter, minus an ugly round or two here or there, which can obviously always creep up and ruin us. But even when he was at his lowest in putting confidence, he seemed to putt well here. I'm pretty excited about Willie Z this week.
I agree. And that's another guy I would love to see him put on a green jacket, after the injury and the woes of last year. And I think he had to withdraw from the Masters last year, didn't he?
He withdrew from a lot of stuff. He even had to miss the which cost him the President's I think he was hurt for the President's Cup last year, and then even had to miss the Ryder Cup, and it was the first year of those big money elevated events. So
yep.
Just in terms of the timing of the injury, just horrible. So yeah, I'd be nice to see him get it. I don't know how much it would hit outside of us golf fans, but man, I want that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then some of these other guys here, I mean, you can make a case for Dustin Johnson just at a major. I think it makes sense. Not a bad number there, but if I was going to bet one of these live guys in this range, I'd probably lean towards Cam Smith. Just 40-1 seems like a pretty good number for what he could do around this place.
I can't really make an argument. I'm intrigued by Dustin in those mid 40s. Maybe that even gets higher. But if I had to pick one of them, I guess of that group around that number of Bryson, Dustin, Cam, it probably would be Cam. I'll be passing on all of them, but there is another live body deeper north of 50 that kind of has my attention.
So how we feeling about Fleetwood? Looked pretty good last week. He plays pretty well in majors, has played well here. You think he could fare well this week?
I think he'll be fine. I'm not betting him though. I just don't feel it. I don't see it. Something just doesn't seem right. I don't know what to make of last week. He was fine in Texas, but his bread and butter just doesn't seem to be there for him at the moment. It seems like a lot of people are down on him. If I'm down on him, that probably means people are even way more down on him than I am. So maybe there could be some good leverage plays because he does like to pop up in majors and sneakily play well. But no, there are just some other guys in and around this range that I feel like if I do make additions to my card, I'd rather bet than Fleetwood.
Yeah, the sentiment on him is definitely down. I actually made an outright on him last week, and I actually got some shit for it. Why are you betting Fleetwood? And he actually ended up missing the each way by 1 stroke. So that sucked, but can't complain. We had a good week with Akshay and had the Matsu top 20. So, But if we get to my next bet, I did bet Sahith Theegala, currently 45-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I got him at 55. I know there were some better numbers out there prior, but I dragged my feet a little on him as well. But I like the 55. I just, this seems like a great course for what he can do. It's a matter of whether or not the irons can show up for him. But, he's actually seriously improved off the tee this year, basically since his win towards the end of last year. And he's a wizard around the green, and we've seen that play here. So that combination, I love the way he's been playing. I've been on him a lot this year, and obviously had some close calls, but ninth in his Masters debut last year. So I'm cool with Theegala. I like him quite a bit.
We got a lot of the same things here. So I did have future card, but this is a bet that, like, in terms of the Monday morning numbers, I'm here with Sahith, my partner in crime. Pat Mayo has been trying to talk me into it for a couple weeks, making a lot of great comparisons. The one that kind of stuck out to me was, like, he does so much of what Cam Smith and Jordan Spieth do, two guys that, Spieth specifically is like an Augusta darling. Cam Smith, we see a lot of that as well for, like, just consistent success here. Sahith seems to have that, like, all of that, what they have in his bag, at least the ceiling of it, a potential of it. But you keyed on it. He's got something they don't seem to have, which is an ability to go lethal with that driver mode. And that's a bit of a game changer. Like I said, I came in with a bit of a full deck with some futures, so I wanted to make a couple bets above 50-1, and this was the one. This is for sure one for me. Still got another one that I'm thinking about, but this was the one for me. I've bought what's being sold on Sahith. What could be a magical week, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, even people that maybe aren't on him, I think if he ended up winning and they went back and looked just what he's been up to, the fact that he's already played the course well, I don't think anybody would be shocked if Theegala is wearing a green jacket on Sunday. I really don't. Now, down the board a little bit, some guys that have a little interest, probably more so placement bets, but Cam Young, it's another guy that I don't dislike him as much as I dislike Xander, but I just never really am on him. And for some reason this week, I don't know. I think he can come out here and play very well on this course.
So he's one of the other guys that could get my other bet. I'm a believer, and I kind of came into the week being like, I'm not going to get, as a believer, I'm just not going to get sucked into, like, your first high level big win being a major championship and a Masters. Like, what a trip that could be. But his game is, like, kind of suits this whole thing perfectly. And he looked great here last year. He's got such great major championship resume. It's so funny. Like, he's being called like a Xander light in terms of, like, a choker. But the second, like, it flips, sort of like Xander, it would be so obvious to say, like, I saw that, like, should have seen that coming, with, like, really not just,
Yep.
I know there was a dip in play last year, but when you look back on the finishes and, like, the lead in form, and you're sort of blind to, like, the week to week narrative of it, it's going to be so easy to just be like, well, that was, like, clearly, like, on the precipice of happening. So whether you have the actual stones to get there with the outright, or you're thinking more of, like, a placing, Cam Young top 10 might be one of my a prop I really do like this week. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm thinking a top 20 or a top 10. I could definitely see it. And as far as the loser narrative goes, I mean, it's just, I get these guys come out and make an impact a lot younger than they used to, but he's still so young. It's ridiculous that the narrative that he can't close this early in his career. And not everybody can win every single week. I mean, I get it. We knock guys for not doing it, but how many golfers have we seen that just, we said it before with Xander, is everybody calls him a loser right now because he hasn't won in a while, but he has won tournaments on tour. So it's, I don't know. Sometimes it's just people complaining to complain,
But
I think.
again, with Xander, it's like, now once he wins, those second places are going to be used to bring him up.
Yeah.
Right. In the
Yep.
same way with Cam Young, like once they finally win something, all those close finishes, next time you're arguing or you want to argue them, even people who like talk shit about them while they were happening will then use those finishes as a reason you like him at future things. So right now it's being used as a reason to shit on him. It will so quickly flip as those are actually reasons to help support your case for, as soon as after the win. We see it all the time in all sports. My buddy Mayo likes to bring it up. Like Scheffler was like that for like a whole year and a half.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's the greatest thing ever. Who can't lose? And even in my, like, there was a time, we had to like just tell people Dustin Johnson wasn't a loser. Like, I promise you, he's going to do it. Like, I'm not putting Cam Young there. Maybe Xander's more for that argument, but yeah, again, I don't buy into it. I'll die with the heartache of like just believing in him. And I really do believe. I do believe in Cam Young. Also sticking in this range. Don't want to get ahead of it. It's not a bet I have. The gut, like I looked at that Shane Lowry 50-1 today, Derek. And I'm like, the guts it would take to bet it. But it's sort of like all these other guys we've spoken about. If he wins, like you'll be able to like reverse diagnose it and be like, yeah, actually makes a lot. Like, could have seen that coming. Just not a loser on Sundays. But a lot of my friends are in on this thing. I don't know which one I can get behind. So I got to ask you your opinions on it.
I am literally right there with you. I just, again, if he wins, I could be like, yeah, I probably should have seen that. He's playing incredibly well this year. Obviously, from a ball striking standpoint, the guy has been immaculate, but that putter has just let him down so many times. It's, he has a major to his credit, but I don't know. I don't see him wearing a green jacket. I don't really have a huge statistical case against him other than the putter because, I mean, you're looking at his last three, gained 6.3 on approach, 4.2 on approach, 5.7. I mean, those irons are ridiculous. If we're making cases for Zalatoris and Hovland, how they can come out and win this thing, obviously Lowry can do it too. And if we are getting a little bit of cooler, wetter weather, maybe that plays more into his hand. But there's no way I'm going to be able to get there.
All these Lowry people, I say this respectfully because I believe it. Like that Sunday putting stat just makes no sense. It's got to flip. Like it's not even mathematically possible how that's happening for him. Like if he misses that 7-footer or that 12-footer on one, like you're gonna hate it. Like it's just be like, oh my god, it's happening again. But if he makes that putt on one, I don't know, maybe like if you got no horses, you bet Lowry. Like I don't know, you bet him live or something. I'm talking about on Sunday.
But I mean, we said it about Scotty. He couldn't make a putt at all, and then all of a sudden, look what happened this year. They started to fall. He got a little confidence, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Because Lowry is striking the ball like he's Scotty, but he's putting like only bad Scotty.
Yep. Absolutely. So, there anyone else in this range you like? We don't really have to go through too many guys. I'm kind of thinking about maybe a placement on Siwoo. He's just been incredibly consistent. Another guy that you got to worry about the putter, but striking the ball really well. Kind of like him. Patrick Reed always seems to show up for the Masters, so don't really have room on my card for him, but someone that interests me. But what are you thinking here in this range?
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple names. Firstly, with Reed, I just don't have room, but he is that guy that I mentioned earlier in that, double the number of the guys, the live players we were speaking about at 40-1. I am intrigued by Reed. Maybe there'll be some other markets. I have some fun with him. I do like him. I have a Minwoo Lee future. It's kind of the exact same number I placed it at months ago. Don't really feel good or great about it. Siwoo Kim, he is striking it. Tita Green is unconscious. It is like unbelievable. He's might be putting like worse. he's putting every day like it's Shane Lowry on Sunday. But I'm a proponent of team no putt. Like, I could totally see why someone like the ball striking numbers are just mind boggling. The tee to green numbers are mind boggling. It's eye popping good. If you have any semblance of trust he can putt, then do it. If you go look at the recent form, like if you look at the results, the results with that ball striking though would probably talk you out of the bet. That's the problem. Like, you look at what he's done the last month with this ball striking, he hasn't done it at all. So that's what you got to decide. And Corey Connors, there's probably like money in a Connors placement bet. He's a good, reliable fella. Just, I don't know that I'd want to bet him outright. I don't really have enough room to bet him outright.
Yeah, I agree. I think a placement on him could definitely make some sense. He's been consistent, has played well at Augusta before, so do like that. I think you can make a case for possibly a placing on Adam Scott as well. Wouldn't bet him to win, but I think you could probably get a pretty good number on him at maybe even a top 20 or top 30, I think. But as we get further down the board, I mean, there's not a lot of guys that I really like here. Obviously, from winning the Masters standpoint, pretty rare that we're going to see here. But my last bet that I made was Bhatia. I mean, basically, after he won that bet and they added him, I got him at 150 to 1 with the top 5 each way. So we had to throw a little thank you sprinkle on there.
We'll find a way. I don't know whether it'll be the lefty, the debutant, just maybe in a group bet. But yeah, I'll definitely have to do something for him. Yeah, I mean, even watching him, even before he won, I was sort of plotting like, well, I think I got it. Like, I want to. The lefty fact, like, there's so many things why you think he could set up for Augusta.
Yep.
Obviously, the form at this moment, other than the debutant thing. But like I said, like, I haven't seen anyone post the odds on the debutant list, but it's going to be beautiful, Derek. I don't know how old you are, but it'd be like looking at a list like Kelly Kapowski, Kelly Taylor, Topanga Lawrence. Like, that's what I think of this list of debutants. They're my favorite. And I don't know whether we're reading each other's mail, because if you did have if I was forced to pick a guy over 100 to 1, Adam Scott might be that play for me as well. So I would like to invest in him in something. So I don't know. We're seeing a lot of this very similarly. I don't really know I don't really have an opinion on the super long shots. Olesen has a top 10 at Augusta and was like striking it beautifully last week. If that's something you're in for, Taylor Moore is like just straight been flushing it. So if you can get some of these huge numbers to the 10 places, like if that's your thing, maybe those would be my recommendations, but I don't think I get there.
Yeah, I don't mind those. And that's basically how I'm feeling down the board here. Taylor Moore, probably another one too. If you're not making the outright, could make sense to make a placings bet on him. But obviously we got to talk about Tiger too. I mean, It's very rare that we get to see him. Probably not too many more times that we even do get to see him, period. What do you think? I mean, not him having a chance of winning here, but do you think he could maybe make the weekend and then have an okay showing here? I mean, obviously last time out didn't go very well. Do you really think he had the flu too?
Well, that's the thing. Did he have the flu? Because at the father-son challenge before Christmas, he kind of alluded to the fact that he was going to try to play about, once a month, once every 6 weeks this year, which got all of us excited. And then he goes out in that first event and he has to withdraw with the flu. So if you're withdrawing with the flu and you said you're going to play like once every 6 weeks, then wouldn't you play again?
You would think so.
So that's what kind of I'd agree with you. I don't know that it's the flu, friends. I just don't. I'm not very confident what's going to happen. Like, we've seen so many great Masters champions play great when they're older, play very well. So if that's the case, it wouldn't shock me. The rain and the cool conditions early in the week are probably a concern, right? My perfect dream scenario for Tiger is probably like a lot of people. I mean, we're not talking about the win here, but it's like make the cut on the number and then you're on my TV in the morning and you're pretty much almost off the course by the time things get serious. That's like my ideal scenario. Part of me really does think he's going to miss the cut. That's not a bold take, but it's also something like I don't want to bet on that, and I don't feel confident enough like with how much I would bet on it, and it's not worth like I'm about 50, 100, 20, like it's just not I don't want to cheer against it, and I don't feel confident that's actually going to happen. So there's just no action for me. I hope he plays well. I hope he looks good. I don't know. I've had a lot of opinions on the show, and I'm sitting on the fence with like old man Tiger who's probably going to play horribly. So I don't know. Sorry, Derek.
No worries. The only thing I would even consider betting him would be maybe to make the cut, just because I want to root for that. But otherwise, it's probably pretty sketchy.
I was
placing any money on him.
This head-to-head today. Like if you had an option of Phil versus Tiger in a head-to-head, and last year, right? Like Phil finished second last year. He's at least like playing. He's playing in events. I probably lean Phil, but I don't.
Yeah, that's way harder than it should be. I probably
with Tiger, you never really know. The books don't usually, because his odds to win are so like deflated from what they probably should be, that they never really give you the head-to-head that correlates with the outright odds.
Yeah,
it's like if he's 150 to win, they give you a head-to-head with a guy who's like 300 to win instead of a guy who's also 150 to win. So they don't make it easy. But I'm not even looking to get in like picking on Tiger markets. At the same time, I'm not looking to bet him to do anything productive.
No, and as sad as it is to say, I probably would bet Phil in that matchup.
Yeah, if I had to pick it, I think I'm betting Phil. It's about, I don't know, it's about reps. Like Phil's out there 10 days ago posting a video of him like practicing a serious session in the rain.
Yeah, I saw that.
It looks like it's gonna rain. Yeah, I know. I don't care for like workout videos, guy. Get it, like, but I just mean like, at least in the
putting in the work
in the context of Phil versus Tiger, it's like I know one guy's. I'm not here to diminish Tiger. I don't even like where this is going because it's leading me to have to like talk about it. But I feel like it would have to be Phil, like just based on the reps, Phil.
Yeah. All right, I think we've pretty much exhausted this field, but quickly to recap my card so far, I have Xander at 20, Brooks at 27, Zalatoris 33 with 7 places, Thigala at 50 with 7 places, and Bhatia at 150 with 5 places. I've also made a top 10 on Xander. So this way, if he does what Xander does, I don't actually lose money on him. And then also have a top 20 on Decky. What do you got so far, Geoff?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm pretty futures heavy, so it's kind of hard to replicate it today. But Xander, Neiman, Minwoo, Aberg, Hovland, Willie Z. And I'm going to bet Sahith. And yeah, Cam Young placing.
So we got some crossover there.
Yep.
All right. Well, obviously it's the Masters. It's one of the best weeks of the year. And obviously with the state of golf, it just makes it that much more enjoyable and have that much more anticipation. But before we get out of here, I got to ask you about the Chargers, Geoff. So what are your thoughts? How are you feeling so far here?
I feel good. I mean, they hired Jim Harbaugh. That's what more could have asked them to do. I'm not going to overreact to them gutting the receiver room. Like fantasy, that's a bigger problem for fantasy bros than it is for like Charger fans. You know, they'll figure that out, but it's like you can't hire Jim Harbaugh and then tell him how he's supposed to fix it. And they were left with some cap hell, and those were tough decisions. They have the 5th pick. I don't know, Derek. Like, part of me feels like draft's going to end and fantasy bros are still going to be yelling at the Chargers because they went like offensive line over receiver, but that seems like that is just a Harbaugh.
Marvin Harrison is still there, and they take an offensive tackle instead.
Yeah, and I get they want to run the ball, and I get that's like the identity to that we can run it down your throat. But I need to know that they know that at any moment I can still unlock Herbert to Marvin Harrison Jr. I've grown up with like the fantasy era, so I'm like kind of tilted if they probably don't take one of these receivers. But you can't like hire Steve Jobs to build you a computer and then tell him he's doing the mainframe wrong. Like that's sort of, we have, as a Charger fan, like I have given myself over to Jim Harbaugh, and based on what's happened in the past, like I think that's a good thing, but I can't like get to, that's like one of the good things of having someone that you can actually trust is like when you disagree, you don't think you know more than them, as opposed to like when the X regime would do it, you'd be like, maybe I could do this job. I'm not actually, I don't mean that truly, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. We got a coach, we got a quarterback, Derek. Like, isn't that when people want to bet an NFL game, isn't that 80% of their process? Like, who's the coach? Who's the quarterback? So we got those. Now we got to fix the roster.
Yeah, and I think any complaints to this point are strictly that from a fantasy standpoint, because I do think that, from a fantasy standpoint, they are going to take a step back. From an actual NFL standpoint, I do think that they're in a better position. And, the way that Harbaugh runs a team, runs an offense, I think that plays perfectly, especially in division. When you're playing against the Chiefs, you want to run the ball, you want to play defense. So I think that helps in that aspect as well.
Yeah, that seems to be true. You control the game flow if you have that offensive line. This is like Harbaugh speak now, without the analogies and stuff or the Harbaugh isms. Everything I read makes me think that I just don't can end it on this because we had a good time here. And I know you're sick. They have a great left tackle in Rashawn Slater. Joe Alt is apparently incredible, but he would have to play right tackle for the Chargers. So why not just draft the best premium skill position player, that would be a Marvin or a Neighbors, and then go with the second round, draft a natural right tackle, like a guy that doesn't have to make a transition to right tackle, a guy that didn't go in the first round because he's a right tackle, because there's obviously, for obvious reasons, such a premium on left tackle. Don't have to break that down. But like there will still be that opportunity to get your front end right tackle in this draft. Yeah, so that's all. So it's like it's not even left tackle, Derek. It's right tackle. So that's why. But if they want to use 5th overall on a right tackle, I almost want them to make Marvin to go in front of the Chargers. The Vikings then trade with the Chargers, and then maybe even trade back. If you just want to draft these slobs, and I mean that as a compliment, these maulers, then just let's get so many picks and you can just draft them all day without making me feel like you overdrafted one of them. That would be my suggestion. But like I said, I'm this fun guy who likes seeing touchdowns, so I'm obviously cheering for them to take a receiver. Or not cheering for it, but I like fantasy bro is like on my shoulder being like, you got to take a receiver. And sometimes that consumes me because we don't have a receiver.
Yeah, and I do think that if they're not sold on one of the pass catchers there, I think it makes perfect sense. Move back. Just get as many picks as you can, and you can bolster this roster that way. But I will say that I like handing the keys over to Harbaugh a lot more than I like handing the keys over to Aaron Rodgers, because as a Jets fan, that's basically what we've done, and obviously that's not working out too well.
And I made that analogy before to sort of talk about it with my boy Tim Anderson, in the same way that Jets fans almost like, no, it's not like a 2.5, like with the coach, you get more of a longer runway than you do with an older quarterback, and how many years we can try to do this. But it'd be the best way to explain it would be a Jets fan. The way you just literally had to hand your life over to this guy and whatever comes with it, because what the past was, you're like, no, I still think like really that as much as you guys can make fun of it from the outside, as a fan, like I still think this is probably the best thing for us. Sort of the same thing with Harbaugh. Like fantasy bros will not like a lot of the decisions, right? Like we're probably not gonna, right? We're not gonna call Hut fast enough. We're gonna run the ball, but like you said it, like fantasy guy's gonna be annoyed, but actually maybe winning football games, keeping them close, and winning on the margins. This is probably what the Chargers need. And imagine, because he's never had one, like Justin Herbert with a good running game that can keep a team off balance. Justin Herbert not having to play 3rd and 8 hero ball because you just like, I don't know, Eckler. Like, I don't want to even blame Eckler because no one could block. No one could block. No one on that line could block. Even the Chargers tight ends were the worst run blocking tight ends in football. Obviously, you know, Jim Harbaugh. That changes like now. That's changed yesterday.
Yeah.
That changed yesterday. I'm fired up. Masters into draft, even though they're both like golf is like boring and slow, and the draft is like boring and slow. The slow burn of all of it, like it really is a great time. I'm pretty fired up here, Derek.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. And I think the slow burn of it actually is what adds a little more anticipation to it too. So it's like you're getting excited for it and it's not instantly over. You actually get to enjoy it for a little bit.
Yeah. Beauty.
All right. Well, I think that was a pretty good conversation. Went through a lot of the guys that we like and maybe don't like. Got a pretty good take on the Masters. But Geoff, thank you for joining me. Greatly appreciated. It was definitely a fun conversation.
Anytime, hit me up later in the summer. We'll do it again.
Sounds good. Yeah, maybe we can hop back on and chat up some football before the football season starts. But appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on. Obviously, you got the trip coming. Yeah, thanks. Hopefully this doesn't absolutely kill me for a couple days and I can enjoy the Masters. But, I mean, if I'm sick on Thursday and have to stay home from work and watch from bed, I'm not going to complain.
See, if anything, you played this wrong. Like, you needed to get sick, like, in 2 days from now, not yesterday.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. All right, Geoff, but greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the trip to Vegas.
Oh, looking forward to it. Not looking forward to losing access to my sports books in this new regulated world. So that's why, like, if you heard me say, like, I'm thinking about betting more names, it's just because I might be going with a really full sheet. Because when I'm there, like, yes, I'm in Vegas, but the irony is it's actually harder to bet. The irony of that, it's pretty messed up, Derek, but it's this crazy world we live in.
Okay, it is pretty funny. Thanks, Geoff.
Right. Anytime, hit me up, Derek. All the best. Let's catch a crossover winner, friend.
Sounds good. That's going to do it for this week. As always, check out theHelmSports.com. Have all my write-ups over there. Basically wrote up all the live golfers because most people don't care about live. So what they've been up to this year, their finishes, their Masters history, that's up there. Got the course preview up. And then also I will have my DraftKings player pool and all that good stuff over tomorrow. So check out theHelmSports.com. Also, check out themadlabmma.com. Obviously, we have UFC 300 coming up, so you're going to want to get in there, get all of Mad Lab's picks, projections, all the good stuff. Obviously, it's a huge week for UFC, and he is, without a doubt, the best in my mind. Also, you get every sport. We have the Discord full. As soon as I make any golf wagers, they are in the Discord there, so check that out. But it's Masters Week. Definitely excited for this one. Should be a good one. And I am really, really excited to have major golf here. But that's going to do it for this week. Thank you for listening. And remember,
just have fun out there.